Most travelers come to Scotland for Edinburgh, castles, and the Highlands. But beyond the famous views, there are islands where the roads narrow into mist, coastal villages shaped by wind and tide, glens that feel almost untouched, and ruins that seem to appear out of the landscape itself. And most visitors never go that far. Scotland isn't just historic, it's atmospheric. What people think Scotland is. When people picture Scotland, they usually imagine castles, kilts, bagpipes, and dramatic green hills. They think of Edinburgh, Loch Ness, and the Highlands. And that version exists. It's real, well-documented, and worth experiencing. The Royal Mile does lead to Edinburgh Castle. Bagpipers do perform on cobblestone streets. Tour buses do circle Loch Ness, and gift shops do sell tartan in every imaginable form. But Scotland changes quickly once you move beyond the best-known stops. The crowds thin out within an hour of leaving the city. The signage becomes less frequent, and the infrastructure shifts from polished tourism to working countryside. The weather shifts, the light shifts, and the landscape feels quieter and more remote. What looked curated in the guidebooks starts to feel lived in. Raw, unpredictable. The Scottish Highlands, the anchor. The Highlands shape how much of Scotland is imagined. Open glens stretch between mountains. Roads run for miles through landscapes that feel larger than expected. There are no billboards, no rest stops every 10 miles. Just moorland, stone walls, and the occasional farmhouse set back from the road. The scale isn't as vertical as the Alps, but it feels older, more weathered. Like the land has been shaped by thousands of years of wind, rain, and slow geological movement. The Highlands are less about one famous viewpoint and more about atmosphere. About driving for an hour and seeing only 3 other cars. About stopping beside a loch that has no name on your map. About realizing that much of Scotland's beauty exists in the transitions between places, not just at the destinations themselves. The further north you go, the more that sense of openness deepens. And the more you understand why this region has shaped Scottish identity for centuries. Isle of Skye. On the Isle of Skye, Scotland becomes more dramatic. Rock formations rise sharply above the sea. Cloud often hangs low over the hills. Roads wind between cliffs, lochs, and small settlements. The island's geology is distinct. Volcanic ridges, jagged peaks, and coastal cliffs that feel almost sculptural. Skye is one of the most photographed parts of Scotland. The Old Man of Storr, the Quiraing, Mace Point, Fairy Pools. These locations appear constantly on travel platforms. But even here, timing changes everything. Arrive at midday during peak season and you'll find tour groups, parking struggles, and well-worn paths. Early morning and late evening reveal a quieter side. When the light is softer, the wind picks up, and the landscape feels less like a destination and more like a place that simply exists, indifferent to whether anyone is watching. That version of Skye still exists. You just have to choose when and how you approach it. Remote castles and ruins. Scotland's castles are famous, but many of the most memorable ones aren't in cities. They sit alone beside lochs, on cliff edges, or in empty fields. Some remain intact, others have collapsed into ruins, but all of them feel connected to the landscape. Isle of Skye, perched on a small tidal island, is one of the most photographed castles in the world. But drive another hour north, and you'll find castles with no gift shops, no guided tours, just stone walls, ocean wind, and the occasional information plaque. These ruins weren't preserved as museums. They were simply left. And over time, they've been reclaimed by moss, by ivy, by the rhythm of the seasons. History here doesn't feel separated from nature. It feels absorbed by it. Walking through these sites, you're not observing the past from a distance. You're standing inside it. Most visitors leave Scotland thinking they've seen it, but the deeper you explore, the more it shifts. If you're drawn to destinations beyond the obvious, this channel is built for that. For travelers who want context, not just content. For people who care about why a place feels the way it does. Coastal villages and harbors. Beyond the Highlands, Scotland's coastal villages reveal another side of the country. Harbors hold working fishing boats. Houses sit low against the wind. The sea is never far away. These towns don't feel designed for tourists. They feel lived in. Paint peels from shutters, ropes coil on docks, nets dry in the salt air, and shaped by weather. On the west coast, storms roll in from the Atlantic with little warning. On the east, the North Sea brings a different kind of cold, sharp, persistent, and unforgiving. The people who live here have adapted. Architecture reflects climate. Daily routines shift with the tides. Conversations often begin with the weather because it genuinely matters. These villages may not have famous landmarks, but they offer something harder to quantify, a sense of place that feels earned, not constructed. Glens, lochs, and everyday landscape. Much of Scotland's atmosphere comes from its everyday landscape. Glens, lochs, moorland, and open hills connect regions together. Not every place has a famous name, but many of the most memorable moments happen between destinations. On a quiet road, beside a loch, under changing weather. The landscape here is subtle. It doesn't announce itself. You might drive through a glen and barely notice the way the hills curve, the way the light filters through cloud cover, or the way a stone bridge crosses a stream that's been flowing for centuries. But if you stop, if you turn off the engine and listen, you start to notice the details. The texture of the heather, the sound of wind moving through grass, the way distance works differently when there are no buildings to measure it against. This is the Scotland that doesn't fit neatly into itineraries, but it's the part that often stays with people the longest. Food and local tradition. Scottish food reflects climate and place. Along the coast, seafood is central. Mussels, langoustines, oysters, smoked haddock, pulled from cold waters and served simply. Inland, meals tend to be simple and warming. Soup, smoked fish, oat-based dishes, and local baking remain common. Cullen skink, a thick smoked haddock chowder, originated in a small fishing village and spread across the country. Bannocks and oatcakes appear on breakfast tables and in pubs. And in many regions, whiskey is part of the cultural landscape. It's shaped by what grows, what's caught, and what survives the climate. And in the best places, it's served without pretension. Just flavor, function, and respect for the ingredients. Why travelers are exploring beyond Edinburgh. Scotland continues to attract travelers from around the world. But many visitors are now moving beyond Edinburgh and the classic day trips. Road travel makes it easier to reach smaller villages and islands. Rental cars, camper vans, and improved infrastructure have opened up routes that once required more planning and experience. Instead of staying in one city, people are exploring whole regions, spending 3 days in the Outer Hebrides, following the North Coast 500, driving through Argyll and stopping wherever the landscape shifts, and discovering that Scotland is less about one landmark and more about atmosphere, about how the country feels when you're moving through it, when you're deciding each morning where to go based on weather, curiosity, and the road ahead. That kind of travel requires flexibility, but it rewards attention. Who this side of Scotland is for. This side of Scotland is for travelers who enjoy mood as much as scenery, for people who don't mind rain, distance, or changing light, for those who want history, coastlines, and mountains in the same journey, for travelers who prefer smaller roads to motorways, who would rather eat in a harborside cafe than a chain restaurant, who find value in places that haven't been over-curated. Scotland offers all of that, without needing to force it. The experience is there, waiting in the glens, the islands, the ruins, and the villages. You just have to be willing to go a little further, to take the turn that isn't marked, to stop when the light looks right, to accept that some of the best moments won't be planned. Scotland isn't just castles and postcards. It's glens, islands, ruined towers, coastal towns, and landscapes that feel shaped as much by weather as by time. And once you move beyond the obvious stops, you realize how much more there is. Subscribe for more journeys beyond the tourist version. What part of Scotland would you explore first?